Hello guys and girls, and welcome to episode 80 of the FReality Podcast. Wow, I can't believe we're on episode 80 already. That's just gone so fast. But if you don't know who we are and what we're about, well, this is a weekly VR, AR and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook and on Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 PM in Europe, 6 PM in the UK and 12 midday in central US. You can also check out our audio version of this SoundCloud and on Anchor. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave us a review on iTunes. That will really help us out. Thanks to everyone that's joining us live in the chat. Hello to you all. Really appreciate you joining us every week. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, put them in the chat and we'll try and answer as many questions as we can. But right now, it's time for me to introduce you to the team. First up this week, I bet you didn't know that this guy's favorite sausage is called a fricandel. It's my blonde-haired buddy. It's Nathy. How you doing, man? You alright?
Yeah, a frikandel is delicious.
We have an emergency, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I can eat one every day. Yeah.
This whole introduction this week is going to be sausage themed, by the way. Just to give you the heads up.
You make me hungry. Yeah, so if you come to Holland, you know, order a frikandel special.
Yeah, it has like little onions on it, and then it has like little sauce.
Yes.
Also very nice with yoppie sauce.
Yoppie, yeah. Just ask for yoppie, and you're gonna have a pleasant time.
Yeah, yeah. Any other sort of little Frisian treats we should know about?
Yeah, Frisian tums, like little cookies. It's also very tasty with sugar on it. And yeah, I mean fries with war sauce are pretty good too. This all sounds super odd, but if you live in the Netherlands, you're like, oh yeah, this guy knows. This guy knows what's up.
Okay. Well, let me introduce the rest of the team then. Next up, this guy's favorite sausage is a big bratwurst. It's in top 5. How you doing, man?
What the fuck is that about, Mike? A big what? A big what
I'm
burst?
just doing sausage-themed intros this week. I don't know why I just felt like
I know why you felt like it. It's all Marcus's fault. That's why.
It is.
Fucking hell. And because this morning you were chowing down on sausage, weren't you? That's what you were doing.
Having a great time.
Yeah. For those watching the stream, I know we're having a little bit of a video and audio desync.
In your voice.
And working on that. There's an echo on my voice.
Yeah, there's an echo.
I'll try to sort that.
So while Zim sorts out the echo, let's dive deeper into the team's sausage needs. This next guy, he likes nothing more than getting his hands on a load of cocktail wieners. It's the Rowdy guy.
But where is this coming from, Mike? Like, I mean, I'm wondering how you're gonna introduce yourself, like, because I know that I read the tweet of you this morning that meant a lot more and that would make a lot more sense if this all applied to you. So please skip me and go ahead to yourself.
This is the thing, like, I just tweeted this morning saying I was in bed having a sausage sandwich, watching Netflix, and then everyone just started getting crazy on my tweet.
Let me explain it. Let me explain it for the chat. I got a notification. Mike tweeted. I was like, oh great! And you get, you know, with Twitter on your phone, you get like the first part of the tweet you actually see. You saw, and Mike is like, I just had the best morning ever. I'm in bed with a sausage, and that's where I like got caught off. And I was like, what is Mike doing in bed with a sausage? You know, I want to see more of this kind of. And then I realized I was being clickbaited.
I bet you do. It made you click so fast.
Is this a VR podcast, by the way?
Yes.
Am I on the right podcast? Are you guys from the FReality team, or am I in some kind of sausage review?
Welcome to the Sausage Review Podcast.
Nice.
Yes, we are a VR podcast, so let's move everyone. I just want to be funny, like mix it up a little bit, throw a few sausages into the intro. If you don't know who I am, the Sausage Man, host of the show, Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's show, we've got a jam-packed episode. We're going to be talking about the announcement from Rebellion that they're going to be bringing Sniper Elite to virtual reality. We're going to be discussing our predictions for GDC next week. Oh my god, the hype is real. We're going to be discussing the new news from Facebook about their fancy new avatar that they've got in the works, and Zim's going to give you the lowdown on the latest releases and much, much more. But first up, let's find out what everyone's been playing and their highlight of the week this week. And first of course, is Nathy.
Yeah, so I played around with my Insta360 camera. It's a hybrid between a 180 and a 360, and I might even have it.
I've got one here if you want me to show it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there it is. So this is how it looks when it's a 360, and what Mike is showing is like the 180, so you can actually transform it, and yeah, like that. It's awesome. So I've been just messing around with it, making funny photos, making cool videos, stuff like that. I've been cruising around on my Super 73, trying to risk my life for a test video. It's quite dangerous to bike with one hand and then have this selfie stick in the other. Like Rowdy once almost died.
I didn't die. I just almost broke a few legs, but
Okay.
I still have nightmares about that fucking bruise you had. What are you talking about?
Oh,
Jesus.
it was like my entire side, right?
It's like a continent. It was like a new continent that someone discovered, and put a little fork in it. It was like, that is Rowdy Land, and it's all purple.
That wasn't a bruise. That was like a painting, actually, because it had every color of this entire planet on there. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've been just messing around with it, and it's nice. It works with your phone, so you can also control it there. You can even, and I think that's the best part, is like you can hold a selfie stick with this camera on it in 360, but then watch yourself in VR. So like imagine you wearing an Oculus Go, and then you have this selfie stick with the camera on there, and then you watch yourself watching you. So you can have this like GTA kind of effect on there where you're like in this third person view and you can walk around. So yeah, you can do crazy stuff with it. It's super fun.
Nice. And in terms of so we tried out some 180 cameras before, like the Lenovo Mirage one, and it was around £200, I think. But the problem with that camera was that it overheated after like 15 minutes. Have you had any problems with that one you've got there?
No.
The Insta?
No. But I do have to say that I haven't, usually overheating happens when you start recording for a while. When you just turn it on and you don't do anything, it's fine. But the moment you start processing the files, it might be a different story. I've been recording one video for, I think it was like 10 minutes. And it worked fine, but that was outside, and it's cold here in my country, in the Holland land. So then it can just cool itself. But I don't know what happens when you're inside and you record like a time lapse, for example. But so far, so good. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the real problem with that camera. And I also remember the post processing required to publish a video to YouTube was an absolute nightmare. Like you needed to convert it from PC, then edit it on a Mac, and then convert it back. Again, and then upload. Is that the same deal with the Insta? This one?
No. And also with the Lenovo one, it's fixed now, so you can just edit on Windows too. So that's not a problem. They updated that, but at the start, yes, you had to actually buy yourself like some Apple products to stitch your video together. You don't have to do that anymore. No, this one uses an app on your phone, so you can actually already process the pictures there, not the videos. The videos go through a program on your PC, and you can automatically stitch it, or you can render it out as like something you can still edit in a Premiere, for example, if you still want to do some color corrections and things like that. But the quality is super nice, and there is still space to also, do color corrections. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super useful to know, because I think after my experience with the Lenovo, I was like, you know what, I'm done with 180 for a little while. And obviously, Insta sent me this camera. Thank you very much. But I haven't really had a chance to test it out yet, so it's good to know that those issues have been ironed out.
After all, the Lenovo was the first 180 out there, so they had to start somewhere.
Exactly. So let's pass it over to Zim then. Find out what you've been playing in VR this week in your highlight.
Oh Jesus, man, I've been a naughty boy. My highlight of the week has to be having done VR Paradise, which is a virtual strip club, which actually is the reason I wanted to highlight it is the quality animation, like human body movement and lighting of skin is really impressive in that. It is exactly what you felt back in GTA when you first went into a strip club in GTA. I was like, this is kind of annoying and frustrating, and oh god, they're blocky and all that kind of stuff. Like it's like that, except for you can't take them out the back and run them over in a car or something. But it's really not, you know, it doesn't, just to specify as well, like I'm a guy I've never been to an actual strip club. I have no interest in them, to be honest. They're kind of seedy places and that. And I was like, what's this going to be like? I was like, this is probably a pretty good simulation of what real thing is like. It's just kind of annoying girls dancing on poles and things, which was nice.
You had no experience in that, of course, at all.
I've none.
You have nothing, you know.
I've none. I literally have none. None. But I just wanted to.
The chat is asking if you have any stock footage that you could show, you know, to explain or further indulge in your experience. Just, you know, the chat wants to know. I have nothing to do with that.
Apparently it exists. I mean, apparently there's people who've covered it and done that kind of stuff on YouTube. I did one kind of racy video on YouTube, and it got struck and taken down after it hit 35K views. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I won't do that again. But you know, it's kind of for science. These things, you kind of go and do it, and you're like, so pat on the back of the team. Do I think it's worth the money that they're asking for it, which is like 20 quid or whatever? I think not. It's the equivalent of a very well polished like scene. That you interact with, just like if you had like an Unreal Engine or something. I don't know what engine they used for it, but that's VR Paradise, and it was an interesting run. Yeah.
They changed their business model because initially the free, and you had to buy tokens, I think, for individual dances. Whereas
Jesus.
I think now the app is fully paid and you get unlimited dances.
It's actually it's kind of like it's a freemium model. Because there is, you go in and you can do a free, God, this is sounding lovely, but you can do a free lap dance, which is just like out in public and you're sitting on a couch and, you know, and then there's a behind the scenes curtain thing, and that's the 20 quid you pay for that. But to be honest, the difference between the two is not huge. If you are wanting to itch that part of your brain, go try the free thing, and that's enough, to be honest.
I don't think it's people's brains that they want to itch when they have this experience.
I love like the seriousness of the conversation that we're having now. So if you want, you can have like a 20 quid, and then you can have the lap dance in the back, and then I have to say, like, it's not really worth.
You know, like, I really think like as one of those apps, like there's loads of them out there. I've really had no reason to go see most of them, but it's something that, like, the animation style, like the thing that you don't believe, the uncanny valley effect that you don't believe is, I'm not looking at a human. And that app actually crossed that barrier to an extent for me where, like, the skin tone, the lighting part was like, that's pretty convincing. The trouble they have with an app like that is you spend all that time polishing a model, and I mean, the character model and the animations, getting them so fluid and perfect. And then in the end, you don't have the different body types, you don't have the different intonations of the voice or a dialect or something. So there's so much still missing from kind of like the comparison of virtual to real. So I just don't know why people would go into a virtual strip club when you're like you're putting up barriers in front of yourself that don't necessarily need to be there if you're going to go into adult content already. So it's a weird mix, and I had to call that one out.
It doesn't have any gameplay mechanics?
Not really, no. Unless you
puzzle solving or
unless you call holding a handful of cash out. That's the interaction. It's like your hand just goes out like that and holds cash.
So only your hands are tracked, nothing else.
Well, it's teleport, so that was disappointing. You can't even free walk around the scene.
It must be amazing with the VR knuckles, right, from Valve.
Oh, with the fingers.
Oh,
wonderful.
So on a scale of 1 to 10 sausages, how many sausages would you rate it out of 10?
God, 3.5 sausages, Mike.
3.5 sausages.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, those are brodwurst, so I mean that's pretty.
God's sake.
Also, I do think Mike is getting exposed in the chat because David says, Mike knows a lot about this game.
Apparently, he was like, oh no, but it used to be this and this and this and that. I'm like, okay, Mike. I
like to be aware of all the VR apps that are releasing regularly. I keep up with all the news. But of course, if you want a regular, Zim's CD VR corner, as a regular slot on the show, let us know in the chat.
I love that I'm pegged this way because I, did one video on YouTube, but
I think to be fair, it's worth mentioning because VR, porn in VR is a big issue, right? And like with any new technology, that industry adopts it quicker than anyone else. Yeah. So I think it is interesting. I know we give you jip for it, but it is interesting indeed.
Well, and you guys were going on about 180 cameras, and actually that's one of the reasons I decided, because there were so many better things I could have talked about today between Megalith and our run in Assetto and Haunting Hour. There's so much that was done this week. I don't know what it is about March. This is a busy feckin' month for VR. I'll leave it at that.
It's going to get any bit more busier from here.
This is the last time for us we can make some jokes, because then we don't have time to do that anymore.
Exactly. So let's pass it over to Rowdy then. What have you been playing in VR this week then, dude?
Yeah, I'll quickly go over the chat because they've been posting some stuff as well. Ace Vogel, I don't know if I pronounced that right. He played Quake GVR on the Oculus Go, which now has mod support and online multiplayer. This is just the best thing ever. And he also played some Borderlands 2 VR with the AIM.
Oh, nice.
I saw that on the Facebook chat, Sean O'Connell, he played Onward and Superhero today. Has anyone heard of Superhero before?
No.
Apparently it's a game on the Rift where you run around a small map with like a paintball style kind of game, and it's a lot of fun. So
it's called Superhero.
No. What to UK, also Borderlands 2 and also some Anthem, but that's not VR, so don't really care about that. JetX, Audica, Beat Saber DLC, Shadow Legend, The Wizards, The Morrigan, Cobalt, all of that, one person. Who do you think it is?
PD.
Of course it is PD. Yeah, he played all of that in a week because he has to. He has to scratch his itch. And then me myself, I have actually yesterday I dove back into Contractors together with Viper and a friend. And I had a tremendously fun time. Like, that game has become even more polished. It is. I played on the Oculus Rift. Viper had a bit of issues with his Vive Pro, but I think that's more related to his Vive rather than the game itself. But the game is. I did turn async on because when I'm also streaming and also trying to play this game, then it can get quite a bit heavy, especially because I need to bump up the resolution a bit because to see in the distance.
Yep.
But that game is so much fun. They added new maps as well. They now have an Arctic map on there. I hadn't played that one yet. Of course, I got absolutely destroyed every time that I play with Viper and his friends, but still, because it's so fast paced, you don't have a long waiting time. You wait maybe 5 to 10 seconds and then you're back in a game. So it's actually it's quite fun. I think I streamed it for about 2.5 hours, and it was really fun. Really enjoyed that one.
10 out of 10. IGN would play again.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna stream that game more often, and also just because it's the kind of game that I want to see more in virtual reality. I mean, there's still things that need to be polished, but they're now also starting with a league, the Contractors League. So they'll be starting with teams and more competitions in that way as well. And I really think that's going to be a big hit as well, because it's visually already so appealing. If they manage to add some cool camera scenes, like Onward does, for example, to that as well, oh man, I'm definitely going to be watching that for sure.
Nice. So does this mean that Viper's making a comeback?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, of course, he still plays VR. It's just the streaming that he's not doing at the moment. But I mean, you never know. I hope he comes back. I miss the dude on YouTube and then Twitch. Yeah.
Me too, man. So this week I played a lot of Beat Saber because I was out of the office for 2 days doing something cool that I can't talk about this week, but maybe I can share more details about that on next week's show, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But as soon as I got back, I was straight into the new Beat Saber DLC, which are the Monstercat tracks. If you're not familiar about this DLC pack, it's 10 new tracks, collaboration between Beat Saber and Monstercat. You can buy them for $12.99 for the whole set, or you can buy them individually at $1.99 to get them all on Oculus, Steam, and PSVR. But also the PC users also got the 5 exclusive tracks from PSVR and the campaign mode as well. So we got loads of content to play. So I was jumping straight into that and had a lot of fun. I don't know about you guys. What's your favorite new track from the new Monstercat DLC? Do you have a favorite yet?
Overkill.
Yes.
Easy. Because it breaks your balls so freaking hard. Jesus, that
Giving
song.
you a little high five via
Like
web.
you're going through all. The thing is, the weird thing is, like I've been using Monstercat with my show since 2014, so I basically knew all these tracks like the back of my hand. Not obviously the beat maps or anything, but that was one of 3 songs that I didn't recognize, and it must be well known or something. But it rolls over your face like a bloody tank.
Yeah.
That's a hard map.
Although there is one track that is missing that is desperately needed.
Oh, I know.
That is, of course, the Crab Rave. Everyone knows the Crab Rave.
Like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So good.
But the good thing is, one of the developers, Yaroslav Beck, posted a poll on Twitter asking for if he got 10,000 votes to bring the crabs out, then he would make it happen. And that happened within like 48 hours. So they're definitely going to
be 3,000 or something.
Exactly. So they're definitely going to be bringing the Monstercat Crab Rave to Beat Saber in the future. So I'm super hyped about that. But the one thing I wanted to talk about, aside from Beat Saber, is Live, because I knew when I wanted to record all these new tracks that I wanted to record it in a mixed reality view using Live. And I'm sort of quite friendly with the Live team, and they showed me a new technique on how to capture sort of mixed reality with a rotating camera. And when I saw the footage of this originally, I was like, how did you pull this off? It's some sort of like wizard trick. You've used like a 360 camera on a drone or something, or like multiple cameras like swinging around you. And they were like, no, you use a single camera, and here's the tool how to use it. So they gave me early access to the tool, but it will form part of the Live application in the future. But to basically describe how you utilize this new technique that shows off this amazing footage is you use a single static camera like you would normally with a behind the view mixed reality view. And then what they do is they rotate the world very slowly in game. And then what you do is you rotate with that world as you're playing. But it's so slow that
We talked about
really
this before. I don't know if you guys remember, but we talked about that in an episode where we were talking about escape rooms, in which you can make the virtual world perceive much larger, because your brain is not used to like the world rotating, so it will automatically correct for that by adjusting your posture. So as long as it's like not like insanely fast, of course, but you can actually get some considerable speed on that without your brain actually noticing, or without you actually noticing yourself that the world around you is turning. When I saw the clip, it was immediately just like, yes, exactly. I know what they're doing there, but it's such a nice way. And I hope that more games will try to implement something like that, also using it for something like gameplay, because I think there's things that can be done by that. Definitely.
Absolutely. And a lot of people were super confused. And when I first saw it, I was super confused how they did it as well. But when you know the trick, it's like any sort of magic trick. You think, oh, it's so obvious. But that's why I played the game on hard in my gameplay and not playing on expert. Because I think playing on expert and rotating and trying to keep within a space so you're in your green screen, doing all that at the same time is going to be too much. So that's why I played it on hard. But I thought it was a really neat effect, and it made the footage look super nice. So hats off to the Live team for that. They're going to be implementing it in the near future. Before we move into quick news, I just want to mention something else, because we mentioned it on the show previously, and that is if you're after something really interesting to watch this week, go and check out Love, Death and Robots on Netflix. It literally came out like a couple of days ago. It's a series of like 15 to 20 minute short animated movies. If you like the Animatrix, you'll love this. It's all about like tech in the future and robots and stuff. Really cool. I've seen a few episodes, and so far the best one I've seen is an episode called Suits, which featured some huge mechs fighting off what looked like the Zerg from StarCraft. So very cool indeed.
Also, give a thumbs up on this video. Lets us know you care.
Thank you very much for that. Absolutely. So let's dive straight into some quick news then. And first up is Audica, because last week we were all talking about Audica because we'd all played it. It had just come out. And one thing I said during my review of the game was that the success of the game really lies in the community's hands and people that mod the game to add custom tracks, because that will really extend the lifespan of this game. Well, apparently it only took about a week for that to happen. Modding is already a thing in Audica now. There's such an amazing community like in VR. They're so passionate and dedicated that they just get on these things straight away. They've already built a map editor for this game, so people can make their own custom tracks to custom songs. And there's also an Audica modding community group on Discord where you can download and share these custom tracks. So if you're interested in Audica custom tracks, go and search out the Discord channel. Some of the tracks have even been made by sort of veteran Beat Saber mappers like Benny the Beast, who is a well-known Beat Saber mapper. So I think that's awesome. I saw some of the custom tracks and they look great. They look like they play really well as well. You wouldn't think that they were custom tracks. They look like they come from Harmonix themselves. But I think it's really great, as I thought the track lineup was pretty weak. So it's awesome that we're going to have tracks that we can add ourselves now.
On a side note, because I'm watching the trailer now, I'm wondering, is it also compatible with the Live?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did a mixed reality gameplay footage with Live, but I didn't do the rotating thing.
Was with Live.
Yeah, they launched with support, actually. They advertised it as part of it. I think it was in the Steam page even that they mentioned it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so are you guys kind of keen to jump on Audica with custom tracks now that it's kind of been broken in Beat Saber in the meantime since the update? Does that kind of weigh it out in your mind, or are you happy with the Monstercat tracks to keep you busy for now?
Yeah, no, I'm not a I'm a vanilla guy. I think I've said that before, you know. So there's definitely two sides of this sinking ship, right? And one of those is the side, the filthy feckers who go down the road of I want my song in here, so they map it and they put it in, and then they get a bunch of fandom behind it, and that's grand. Like, I'm totally fine if you like that and that's your thing. That's grand. But I can feel the difference between the artistic flair of someone who, you know, a Beat Saber track from the original. Yep. Category, right? And like what they did with KDA, what they did with Angel Voices, like when they released these tracks, and then that flair, that artistic like track design, like that's what I'm buying in for. I don't mind playing the other games, you know, but I kind of like I like the original stuff. So for me at the moment, it's definitely Beat Saber and Audica together. They're very different games. They're very different games, and they sit as kind of happy bedfellows, because that whole concept of like when you're done jiggling your ass around the stage with Beat Saber, because it's quite a physical game, Audica's like it's a little bit more cerebral because of having to line up those shots and doing so consistently. But I think they're both lovely games. But I'm glad that the community has decided to, you know, crack on, and geez, they did it fast.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
always amazed by those communities that get behind games. You could see, I mean, because I'm in science, I would like sometimes that communities like that would exist in science as well, where you get, I mean, it exists to a certain extent, but where like people like gather together on a certain subject and really like, you know, everyone works together to get that one thing done, or to get, yeah, I think that's amazing. And I think that's something that is unique for gaming, that such big projects come out of that on like a no pay scale.
The scientists are choked though. They're still trying to answer the whole like, is God real thing, you know? So
Yeah.
Oh God. Right. So let's move on then on that note. Because next up we're going to be talking about Beat Saber, because huge congratulations to the Beat Saber team this week. Not only did they launch their new official DLC, obviously the Monstercat DLC, but they also hit 1 million copies of Beat Saber sold to date. Now that's just an incredible number, and I think it's likely to be the first game to hit that milestone in VR, right?
I believe it is.
So.
I believe it is. Not in revenue, but in sales copies.
Absolutely. And I think the thing is, with this success, like obviously it's great for the Beat Saber team, you know, they've had this huge success, but I think it's also a huge success for the VR industry in general, because when other developers, you know, AAAs, indies, look at this, they're going to be like, okay, that, you know, Beat Saber have done something really amazing, and it is possible to succeed in that market if you come out with an amazing product, right? Yeah. You've got to have that amazing game, of course, to succeed, but it is financially viable, you know, if you have a winning formula like that.
It's crazy though. Like people describe it as the perfect VR game, and I think it deserves that title because it's so easy to get into it and play it and enjoy it. And no wonder they've got 1 million sales. I've already bought 3 copies of the game, so you know, it's the only game that I've ever done that for.
Yeah,
so.
It's just a game that makes a lot of sense even for the viewer. If you look at it and you see someone doing it, you know exactly like how it would, you know, how it would look like in virtual reality, and you want to try it yourself to give it a shot.
True.
It's a very low entry barrier, I think, for people to try. Like you don't have any motion, you don't have any like things that are spinning around you. You only need to focus your attention on one thing. It's a cool entry barrier.
Plus it makes VR cool. I mean, there are many games where it's like, oh yeah, they're just swinging their hands around again, and yeah, I don't know. But this one actually makes people curious, even when they see someone else play it.
Yeah.
There's like this magical touch, just all blends well together.
I think as well, like what the Beat Saber team did, which other developers I guess could learn from, is that they came up with the concept, which was like, and the sort of rough version of the game, and that was like 10% of the work. 90% of the work was just polishing that up to make it one incredibly polished package. And I think a lot of developers, particularly in VR, could learn that lesson, because it seems like they spend more time on the concept and not enough time polishing it up and delivering these gameplay mechanics and making them fun.
Yeah, I think polish goes a very long way in VR. You know, we've seen it from a number of different studios. Things like I Expect You to Die, which we talked about last week or the week before. You know, these titles that, you know, they're not going to give you 16 hours of gameplay necessarily, but that
they
polish.
do start from a good concept, though. You know, you need to start, of course, from that good concept. I mean, Beat Saber is a brilliant concept, and I Expect You to Die is also a brilliant concept. But it's indeed the level of polish that they put in that makes it the title.
Yeah,
so valuable.
but sadly, most developers are bound to a publisher or investors that say like the game needs to be done by this time. Well, they actually want to develop for a little longer to make it more polished, but a lot of them don't have the freedom to do that. So that's why a lot of them just end up being, well, not completely finished or not being good enough. So you know, sometimes you don't have that you know, space to do that. In case of like Shadow Legend VR, you know, it's a solid title for an indie, but the first game Blake made wasn't that, you know, amazing in my opinion. But then the second one, he's killing it because he proved to the people that are, you know, funding him that this is actually working and that it makes sense to bring it to VR, and then you get your key you want to actually make the game you always wanted people to play. So I think that's the difference. And yeah, in case of Beat Saber, you know, they did really well with 1 million copies, and I'm sure that Mike will now also tell people about the review bombs people did on Beat Saber. I'm not sure if everyone is aware of that.
Go for it. You might as well tell the story. Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So as you may know, you have mods on Beat Saber. These mods have been made by the community. So Beat Saber, Beat Games, the developer, has nothing to do with those. You know, they actually every time they patch, they, you know, patch against it, because I think legally they have to. Because if they don't, then there will be like companies saying like, yeah, but listen, these music things are copyrighted and you're not doing anything against that. So they could be sued potentially, I think. So by patching against it, they can constantly show companies like, listen, you know, mods, we are not supporting that officially. But this time with this Monstercat update, the patch they did was pretty, I don't know, pretty watertight. That it took a while for the modders to get their, you know, modded songs back into Beat Saber, and people are not very happy with that because, you know, for a lot of folks out there, Beat Saber is a daily driver. So they were review bombing on Steam, maybe also Oculus Home, I don't know, and saying like, listen, it doesn't work anymore, and what's up? But in the end, Beat Games is not serving anyone in terms of mods.
But don't we open a conversation right there to say, you know, couldn't you foresee that happening? I mean, Revive had the same problem as a mod previously, you know, where you could actually play your Rift games over, and they did the same thing, counter patching, you know, dropping the support. But
well,
like,
makes sense.
Is there? I suppose the real question we should be asking is there anything Beat Games can do, you know, in support of that? I think they can't. Their hands are shackled, really.
They spend a lot of money on licenses, but they can never license all of these songs. I think maybe a certain percentage of those songs don't even get sold to a game.
It would be fixable, for example, if you, for example, would link it to Spotify, and then users could use their own Spotify account to go and link it, but then, of course, not streaming it.
Yeah,
but then you get the audio shield problem where you could use YouTube to, and then also, but I'm not sure, like officially I don't know if Beat Games is patching against it, but
in the chat they're saying
they have to do that, I think.
In the chat they're saying that they said in the tweet that they would never patch against it, but that it's just a code that changes naturally breaks them. I think that makes a lot of sense because if it's a third-party program, because I think with Audio Shield we had the discussion as well. It's not because they're not allowed to do it, but it's rather with a different issue in that if there is a lawsuit, and then there is no reason for a lawsuit, I think either. But I don't think that a third party that you have nothing to do with that can potentially eventually cause.
I don't think so.
Dude, I don't.
They might not have grounds. They can still
could
come
be,
at you
held
if it gets big enough a problem, But aside from that, like
That's what I mean.
the biggest problem I think that we have on the internet today is licensing, like across the board. It causes problems all over the place, both for artists who want to actually share their content and have it heard and all that. I mean, we don't have the same kind of broad blanket approach to that we had 50 years ago, because it's not like the single channel. It's not so easy to address, and you have that problem these days. And I think Beat Games must be caught in the whole net of looking for legalities across different markets. I mean, it's different from North America to Europe to China. I mean, it's just like, it is a total mess. It's a rat's nest.
It's a double-edged sword for them, because they know that the community that modded the game is what's kept that game going for so long, because it's only now a year later that they've released their first paid DLC pack with official songs. So it's kept everyone entertained all that time. But again, you've got to be careful about the legality side as well. So I'm sure Audica has the same issues. Like, now that they've got mods, I'm sure it's going to help them gain some more traction, but they need to be aware of that as well. So it is a double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think for developers it's smart to not give it that much attention. I mean, that's all you can do, and just go for like buy new songs or make songs. That's the only way to go. And what the mod community does, that's not their responsibility. So I think in the end, a review bombing Beat Saber, it's kind of like a douchebag movie. But I do feel people, because they don't see mods as a separate thing. They really think it's a part of the experience.
They're so polished.
But I do wonder, like, why can't Beat Games? I mean, again, one of my favorite games is Assetto Corsa. They had a similar thing where the modding side started going on fire. Now, they don't have the same music licensing issue, so this may be why. But constructing an API so that those kinds of code breaks happen less frequently, I believe is the same thing that they did in relation to revive breaking all the time. Because once you set that up, and you can essentially, as a coder, plug into it, then your mod won't break every time there's a patch for the game. And I think that to this point, I mean, look at how in a year, what a relatively small team has accomplished in Beat Saber, right? I mean, this has moved. They've moved on all the different platforms. They've released multiple patches with content out at a high grade of polish. I mean, it's astounding the pace at which they're moving, and no doubt it's investors in that. But you still have a core team that's a very small team, so they must not be sleeping very much.
No, I love how much Beat Saber shows how far the VR industry has matured in terms of games. They really show that you can be on top of the game, even in an era where VR is not mainstream yet.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, well, again, huge congratulations to the Beat Saber team, and I hope you get some well-deserved rest now that the patch is out before the next one. So please rest up, give us some more tracks in the future. We'll be playing these ones happily for some time, I think. But let's move on to the next bit of quick news, the last bit of quick news, and that is Sniper Elite VR. Now, this is incredible. Rebellion, who previously made a VR tank game called Battlezone, they're teaming up with another British development studio called Just Add Water to bring Sniper Elite to virtual reality. Now, this is going to be a standalone game. It's going to be set in the same Mediterranean conflict as in Sniper Elite 4. So if you're a fan of that game and the series, you're going to love this. The clips that we've seen have been shown that it's going to be definitely on PSVR and have aim controller support, but it's also likely to come to PC VR headsets as well. But of course, one of the standout things about the Sniper Elite series was this X-ray kill cam. So when you successfully pull off a shot, the camera follows the bullet's trajectory and then shows like an X-ray of the enemy and what damage that bullet does to them. It's a bit gory, but if you like that sort of thing, then fine. It's a bit like the Mortal Kombat. Yeah, exactly. It's a bit like the Mortal Kombat X-ray fatalities that they did. But I wonder if they're going to be able to pull off this mechanic in VR. I don't know what you guys think of that.
I think they will play around with that, but in what way, I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
going to be expected. You'll ride the bullet, I imagine. But can you imagine like going through? Oh God, I don't know. It's going to be graphic.
Going through the skull.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, I mean, at what scale are they going to do it? You know, what are you going to see? Is it going to be like Elite Dangerous jumping into hyperspace? You know, but just all red.
I feel like you're going to become the bullet in some way, or have like different cameras around this character in like this Matrix mode where you can look around it in some way and see where it's gonna hit, maybe up front. I don't know, maybe like a ghosting mode. We'll see. This is one of my predictions. Let's find out if it worked or not later in the future. But I think you can also, I hope, well, no, I don't hope that, but like every Sniper Elite game, you can kill like famous historical figures on certain missions in different, you know, moments of time.
Yeah.
That's also kind of cool because Sniper Elite is not only about just, you know, shooting people in the, well, balls and things like that.
That's Christ.
Well, trust me, everyone who played this game did.
Yeah, oh, I know. I've seen it. I've seen it.
Don't deny it. But it's also about, you know, spying, hearing conversations of what's going on. Maybe they even have the zombie mode. They also had this zombie Sniper Elite title for, well, is it called like Zombie Undead Elite something? I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
right.
They might, you know, change it up with some zombies too. I don't know. Sounds fun.
Or like Campo675 is saying in the chat, it's probably going to be a wave shooter.
A wave shooter. Nah,
Yeah, not with a sniper rifle.
I don't know, like watching the footage, it felt like a standing experience and not something where you roam around. But yeah, I don't know. Nowadays, every developer seems to be getting smarter in terms of what people want. And
What I really hope is that they team up with ProTube, have Force Tube integration with it, so then I can literally lie prone on my floor with my iPod, which I showed you on a previous episode, and snipe from like lying prone on my floor. That's what I want.
I don't know, that sounds like fun.
Make
God,
it
that
happen,
sounds
people.
good.
That's what Mike wants.
That's what I want.
Tri-
It'd be so badass. I'd be like full ghillie suited up on my floor. It'd be amazing.
Can we trade in the sniper rifle for like a full World War II style machine gun and just be there like going through rounds? That'd be cool. I've never been a huge fan of sniper games, but machine gun games I can dig.
Also, it will come to Nintendo Switch, right? So then you can use your Labo kit to play it in VR.
Oh my god!
with that with that rocket thing, you know? No, that's not gonna work. But
That's
it'll
not
be funny.
confirmed. That's fake news from.
No, that's
Nate.
fake news from Nate. Sorry.
But,
I got
but it's
too
funny.
excited.
It's funny. Okay. So that is all of the quick news this week. But before I pass it over to Zim for the releases, I just want to say thank you to the sponsor of this episode of the FReality podcast, is of course Onward. Now, Onward is a awesome tactical military first-person shooter in virtual reality. It's a favorite of competitive tactical gamers who love to squad up in teams of 5v5 for online play, or if like me you like to ride solo, there's also single-player skirmishes too. With a huge update on the horizon bringing loads of new and exciting features, now is a great time to jump into the game. So you can check out Onward on Steam or the Oculus Store.
I'm riding solo.
You're bringing back horrible memories of that Dance Central Connect game.
What?
Terrible.
Horrible. What do you mean, Mike? You didn't like that? No, wasn't a fan.
Not that song.
It's
the
beautiful.
whole Star Wars thing was.
It makes me cry every time. If you like the song, you can play it in Beat Saber.
I don't even remember that song. I like 100%ed most of the songs in Dance Central 1 and 2, and I have no recollection. There's some part of me that buried that deep.
How does Mike play Onward solo? How does he even do that? He's just gonna camp in a corner, act like he's a trash can, and then shoot everyone.
That's how I roll.
Well, speaking
Speaking
of high caliber, this week in releases, we have a whole lineup for you. I've got 5 different titles. I'm going to rattle through these. The first 3 because we missed them. And when I say we missed them, I mean that they are already out and you can play them and all that. So I like starting with freebies. Here's a freebie for you that is primarily compatible with the Vive, but with a patch you can sort things with the Rift. There's a Win 10, Win 7 thing. Horror game. It's a VR exclusive post-apocalyptic first-person shooter. It's got sentient AI and cybernetic brain implants. Are humanity's downfall. Who would have guessed? So you fight yourself to get keep yourself alive. The beginning looks quite a lot like a Telltale game. I don't know, where cars veering off the road kind of thing. You start off in a field, and then it looks all very Brookhaven after that. But as a free title, I thought, hey, this isn't a bad one to start off with. And actually, the reviews on Steam are quite positive. So if you're into your horror and all that kind of thing, check this out. The animations and some of the core design elements of the game are meant to be relatively simple, but again, might keep you entertained for an evening. So there you go. That one is Phobos VR, and as I said, is best suited to Vive. That's the first one. Second up, we are going to talk about a different kind of game altogether. This is Arcslinger, which was actually previously launched on PC VR and is now coming to PlayStation VR for about £8 sterling, so it'd be about $10. And this game is a gunslinger game, as you can guess by the name of Slinger in the title. I suppose for Arcslinger, and I think that this is one that maybe you guys have played. I'm curious. Have any of you played Arcslinger? Do you have any experience with it?
No.
No. Because it reminds me quite a lot of those modules from what was that Western game that the Oculus Studios guys released?
Dead and Buried.
Dead and Buried, but it's single player. So I think it's one that, if you're sitting there with your PSVR and you're like, I'd like some stages. This is 15 levels of just shooter action, and as I said, it looks very similarly styled. So anyway, this is one by Big Red Button. So another one on PSVR I wanted to jump to, which I find to be quite exciting, is Cave Digger, which was a little indie that launched not long ago, and I actually I want to show you Cave Digger because Cave Digger is like this little indie gem that actually has a really interesting flair. Like, you look through the rocks, you mine oil, you get that in buckets, and you're collecting all this stuff on a timer, and you go down this kind of multi-tiered caving well, I guess, a vertical shaft, and things change as you go. There's some comedy built in there. I thought that it was a really, really great little indie title, and it dropped for free on PC last year. I think it's going to be about £12 or something around that pricing on PSVR, because they now have the final version ready, and that's out. But what were your thoughts of Cave Digger, guys?
I liked it. It's it's definitely an indie title. It's something that you want to like test out and see. Very cool mechanics, I think. Original concept. There are certain things that maybe are a little bit less good, like I had a lot of trouble, like, where did I put my tools, since they hang themselves somewhere differently. I found that a little bit annoying, but in terms of gameplay, it's actually quite solid. And also they had a Halloween mode around end of October, which was actually even more fun. That was actually quite good.
I must have missed that, but yeah, like this kind of iterative collecting money and getting the gems and then cashing it in and then getting a few more things. The thing that probably disappointed me was, you play all these levels, and then at the end of that, it's like the game's over, and you basically have to start from scratch again, and you have to get better maybe your next time through and unlock more things. But really classy indie title. I'm really glad to see some of these titles permeate the console, for VR. Now we need more coming back the other way, of course, but for the time being, I'm just glad to see developers start, in the PC territory, dabble for a year or two, and then progress. That's really lovely to see. So two more quick titles for us. The main ones I'd say for today, because I saw these and I was like, damn, these look very interesting. So this one's Isolation, and that's I-C-E, Solation. And this is a really curious title. Why did I get interested in this one? So this is, if you like local co-op games, like Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, this is along the same lines. It's a local co-op game. It's a highly challenging two-player co-op puzzle and exploration game for VR. It's based in 1994, the Soviet Union has collapsed, and in some of its archives, two researchers discover documents alluding to a top-secret military operation deep in Siberia. So as a tag team, you delve into documents, you head into the mine, and you have to find your way as you're going down the mine. It collapses, sealing them inside, and you have to kind of find your way back to the surface. So again, this one is a very different kind of motif to the other co-op games that we've seen. So to me, it looks quite exciting. And as someone who's just spent the last fortnight building out a co-op kind of room next door, this is something that looks very good for a local co-op or something like that set up. So
Are there monsters in the mines?
I didn't see any in the trailer when I watched it.
At some point, there will be monsters in the mine. And it's gonna be the kind of game you go like, oh, this ain't that bad. This ain't that bad. And all of a sudden, there's something like jumps at you.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
So like, is it asynchronous multiplayer, or is it like, okay, so one person's out of VR, one person's in VR?
Yes, one person's out of VR, one person's in VR. Yeah. Clarify.
Right, and how do they help you? Is that with an iPad or a companion app, or?
I think it's on. So the VR player is obviously seeing they're in the mine and all of that, whereas the other player on the screen is seeing documents and sorting through that. So I think you are going. You're essentially going through a single PC co-op locally.
It's a bit like Nobody Explodes with a manual kind of thing.
Yeah, or Carly and the Reaper Man, for example.
And I don't think it's just documents. There's a series of things that are there. So anyway,
nice.
Final one, which again excites me because of what I've seen of it, but I don't know. This isn't a recommendation just yet. This is a PSVR game called Immortal Legacy: The Jade Cipher, and it's quite an interesting looking title. I'll read a short little blurb about it. I don't have too much more information about it, but it definitely looks the part for our video listeners. Delve deep into the origins of a sinister Chinese legend and unearth the secrets of your forgotten past in this pulse-pounding PSVR adventure. It certainly has adventure-like elements. It looks a lot like some of the things we've seen on PC or coming to PC shortly. Reminds me of things like Stormland and a few other titles that we've already seen played on PC. So PSVR has been needing something like this. It looks very interesting with the scale and everything. When you guys see and catch up with the trailer, you'll see some of the scale of some of the big badass monsters that look like a giant octopus in the sky and stuff. So it looks quite, this is more of a teaser than a trailer. It looks quite tempting. This is launching on the 20th of March, and that's £16 for that. So it should be about $18. It's called Immortal Legacy: The Jade Cipher. Kind of a long name. The Immortal Legacy.
That one's on PC?
The Jade Cipher. This is a PSVR title.
Oh, that looks good.
I believe it's also exclusive to PSVR. The other titles I didn't mention. Phobos VR launched 12th of March. Arc Slinger 13th. Cave Digger also 13th. Those last two were on PSVR. And Isolation just launched yesterday, 15th. So if you're interested in some local co-op, fire away. It's only £7. So that's it's less than $10.
Okay.
For the pleasure.
And to add to that, Felix and Paul dropped a new 360 about, I think it's Kobe Bryant.
The basketball player. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much dropping right now. It is not easy to keep up. There are like 20 decent VR titles dropping every week. So trying to keep you guys informed is definitely a task.
You're doing a grand job.
Grand
job. So let's move into the first of our main topics then, and that is Facebook avatars. Because this week we had a really cool article from Wired. I don't know if any of you caught it, but basically Wired visited Facebook's Reality Labs. They were previously known as Oculus Research, but now they've changed the name to Facebook's Reality Labs. They're based in Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania, and I've put a link to the original Wired article in the description if you want to go and check it out with all the juicy detail, but I'll sort of give you the highlights, because basically what's happening is that Facebook are doing a lot of research and development in the background to what they're going to be called codec avatars, because right now in social VR applications like Oculus Rooms, VR Chat, Altspace, Rec Room, you have these kind of like cartoon style avatars, right, that kind of represent yourself in virtual reality. But in the future, what they're developing is this technology that will make your avatar look exactly like you, which is kind of cool. And I can hear you asking now, like, Mike, why would I want to do this? Well, imagine like how applications like Skype and FaceTime, for example, like what we're using now, how people use this technology today, and they do it to connect with each other remotely, right? So I can look into Zim's eyes right now, and I feel like I'm connecting with him on a level rather than, there's more to it than just an audio call, or if we were just talking over the phone, I feel more connected with them, and the other guys, of course, as well. I don't want to leave you out. But of course, this is something that they want to take to another level in virtual reality, and they call it social presence in VR. Now, right now, this is very difficult to pull off because, it requires an hour-long facial capture in like
Holy
a really
shit.
in a really expensive rig that features over 130 different cameras from different angles, and you have to sit there and pull certain faces and deliver certain lines, so all the data can be captured.
Oh, can you show a few of those faces you have to make? Like angry,
Yeah.
Come on.
and happy, and as sad.
For the audio, look.
That's what you basically need to do.
He's doing a stellar job.
You need to pull all these different facial expressions, and basically these are all captured and then combined with machine learning to collect, learn, and recreate human social expression. Now, these captures, you're not going to believe this, they capture 180 gigabytes per second of data.
Holy, oh my God, 180 gigabytes per second for an hour.
Yes. You thought recording on OBS with flawless was legit. No, we're talking another level here.
This is like Fraps level recording.
Yeah. This is really Ready Player One level stuff. But basically, once you've captured all that data and you've hooked it up to the AI for machine learning, all your expressions and stuff, then basically you can put on a VR headset that has eye tracking to basically follow your eyes. And then when you have a conversation with someone else in VR that has all this set up as well, you get that full, true feeling of presence in VR because you can see all their person's mannerisms and the imperfections of their face, which kind of pushes you through that uncanny valley and makes you really feel like you're having a conversation with that person. And that's the magic of this technology. But of course, this is all just research right now. This is just something that's being developed by Facebook because clearly they can see a future where this kind of technology is going to be used to not only connect people individually to have friends and family that live remotely, but also businesses conducting business meetings remotely in VR with telepresence rather than flying someone to go and have a business meeting. They could just do this instead.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to say quickly on this point, I do think this is really pushing the boundary of what is currently possible in terms of facial recognition, because there's a lot of devices, even on our phones and stuff like that can already very accurately and very nicely represent the digital representation of our face and also try to add stuff on there. I know that, for example, that the Boneworks trailer that we showed not that long ago, I think they actually used the Apple software to capture a face in there to put it in a game. If you guys are interested, you should go and check the trailer back of that one. But I believe that was indeed an Apple device. So it's you have the 90% of the quality that we see. We could probably already do that with just a general computer or a general iPhone, but it's that the last 10%, that little wrinkle in your face, or the little tear that you see in your eye, that the light reflection of that, all that kind of information is probably 99% of that 120 gigabytes per second that they're capturing. So a lot of that stuff is already doable, but it's to get it really to the next level. But it's cool anyway because it will trickle down to what we're using. So yeah.
Absolutely, because this technology is so new right now. Like I said, it's still being developed in its early stages, but just like we've seen with 360 cameras, there were huge, big, expensive cameras in the beginning, and now, like Nathy showed earlier and talked about, was this Insta 360 camera. It's a few £100, and you can capture that at home now. It's going to be the same with this. So I think a big concern about this, and certainly when I saw people's reactions to this on Reddit and other sort of posts where it was posted, was security. Because with this kind of technology, if your facial details have already been captured, what's someone stopping from pretending to be you in a way? If they can use your voice or something like that. Yeah. Well, maybe they'll adopt sort of the technology used in the HoloLens that we've seen just recently with the HoloLens 2, where it uses biometric iris scans your eyeballs, knows it's you, signs you into the headset, and then unlocks your avatar that way. I don't know, but it seems
we're gonna have a problem, pretty much. That's what you're saying. Sounds like, but that's something that is gonna happen anyway. I mean, these deep fakes we're already having are pretty scary. So
Very true. Very, very true.
So this is not gonna help. But on the other side, it does make things more social, as Facebook also wants it.
But I think like any technology, there's always going to be people that find an evil way to use it, right? There isn't a perfect technology in that sense.
There's no, the problem with this is mostly there's no legislation around it. You can pretty much take someone's voice, take someone's facial expressions, and there is not really anything you can do with that at the moment. So it's just like pure on like a, I don't know, like a governmental legislation kind of level. That's stuff like this need to be addressed, because once the technology is there, you can't stop that.
But I think as well, like technology is moving at such a rapid pace that government and law and order isn't developing at the same rate.
That's an even bigger problem then, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Like we still use such antiquated laws from thousands of years ago, in both the US and in Europe. But like technology is just so rapid, and it's funny because when you see them collide, like with the whole Facebook scandal when data was leaked and Zuckerberg was in the courthouse, there were people asking such stupid questions.
They were 8 years old, those people, for sure.
But exactly my point, so that is a problem where they need to sort of keep up to speed as much as the technology is. But I think it's super fascinating. I find it interesting, and I really look forward to the day that I can, meet up with friends and relatives that live abroad and feel like they're sitting next to me.
Can you imagine if you play like a single player and you can actually upload your own face into the game so that you can play with your own character?
Yeah, awesome.
So epic, right?
It reminds me of the iToy days,
You look in the mirror and you see your own face.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's going to be weird.
Or even modify your face and turn yourself into a different character, but still, have like different versions of you. Like, okay, today, I'm gonna look like this, I don't know, version of me, and yeah.
There's going to be people wanting to like go, it's like, I want to go to a dance club in VR, but I want to be 20-year-old me instead of 40-year-old me. It's like there's going to be stuff like that, and then we're going to beat Saber together, and all that fun stuff. I don't know. Embrace it, right? You got to embrace this new. You got to embrace the new technology, because if you don't, it just passes you by, and it becomes ubiquitous before long. But what Rowdy said, putting your face in a game and all that, that's going to be only a year or two away, I'd say. Now that this is dropping, some dev is going to do that.
So they reckon that this technology is probably about sort of 4 years away in terms of being realistic for access. Yeah. And I think Michael Abresh, covered this briefly at OC5 during his talk, which is fascinating, by the way. Go and check that out. But I just thought it was an interesting look, because we don't really get to see behind the doors of Facebook Reality Labs, and what they're up to. So it was an interesting insight for that.
I do have who they're going to start with? They're definitely going to start with bald people, because it's easier.
Oh, so you could sign up.
So they should. I should be first in line.
Aren't bald people more expressive because the wrinkles in the forehead go all the way back? Like we have this like area of occlusion that Mike doesn't have.
Mike, show us some wrinkles on your forehead.
It's a style choice, because when I'm in VR, I don't have my hair messed up, So that's the reason behind it.
That is a big benefit. That is a big benefit.
But also, just quickly before we move on, other companies are doing this as well. Obviously not on this level, but like Starumba are another company that are scanning famous people in as digital avatars. Like Paris Hilton, famous footballers, and those kind of people. Yeah. So there are already people doing this. So
Somnium Space also does it, where you can actually do it yourself and put your. So it's pretty easy already, even for consumers, to do this stuff. Nice. Although on the Facebook side, they might have to save things in JPEG because it's smaller. That's a tip from me, instead of PNG.
Nice. You should follow it to Facebook, then maybe they can reduce that 180 gigabytes per second. To like...
maybe they save it up in PNG and they just don't know. I just told them, and now suddenly it releases next week because they found out.
So yeah, that is what's going on behind the scenes at Facebook Reality Labs. Pretty interesting stuff. But let's obviously talk about what everyone is super hyped about, and that is GDC next week. Oh my god. I can barely contain how hyped I am about this.
Heavily breathing suddenly.
I can see it on your forehead.
Yeah, he's getting...
This is my excited face. So for those of you that don't know, GDC stands for the Games Developers Conference and will take place in San Francisco between Monday the 18th and Friday the 22nd of March. It's one of the world's largest developer events. All the developers gather together, share sort of tips and tidbits from the sort of industry, what they've learned, and also a lot of people sort of announce what they're developing and what they're releasing soon in the future. We know that on Monday, Oculus is going to be hosting a private press event on Monday the 18th, and the embargo of that event ends on Wednesday the 20th. So a lot of the news outlets are going to be going to that event and then releasing articles on the 20th. So stay tuned. But let's break it down to different developers and talk about what we know so far and then our predictions. So should we kick it off then with the Oculus Quest? Because we
Mike, bless us with rumors and excitement, please.
Okay. Well, I think most people out there are pretty au fait with what the Oculus Quest is by this point. We know that it's releasing in spring, so likely any time between now and April. And I think
standalone headset.
Standalone headset, don't need a PC. It's pretty legit. We tried it at OC5. You can play games like Super Hot, Dead and Buried. They look super nice. The resolution is greater than the Rift. But of course, you're not going to get full Rift games on this device, and I think that's worth noting. And you're also not going to be able to connect it to PC to play Steam VR games.
It comes with a sticker that says, "Don't play near train tracks."
Exactly. Be careful. Yeah. Although it does have its own boundary system, so you can set that up when you get the headset, and then you shouldn't be smashing up your house or your walls.
And it's dynamic. The dynamic boundary system is very interesting, and I hope someone mentioned earlier in chat having played Quake, and there was a Quake mod for, was it the Oculus Go, or I'm trying to remember what they used, or was it a backpack? But they actually went out in a field and actually were like running around full life scale. And you know that Quest, when this comes out, someone's going to attack it and do the same thing from a development perspective, because we were running around a warehouse, essentially. You can definitely do something like that, but how long it will be before a consumer game hits with that kind of functionality, I don't know. But that's actually, for me, one of the most exciting features of the headset.
Yeah, okay. So obviously we know a lot about the Quest already, but what we don't know is when it's going to be released exactly, and also if there's going to be separate models for different storage sizes, maybe. You know,
because the one that they showed at Oculus Connect was a 64 gigabytes.
Exactly.
So we might get another one that is bigger. I don't think they go smaller. I think they go bigger, but...
Exactly. But also what we don't know, which hopefully we'll find out next week, is the full launch lineup. Because we know we've got a handful of games, but they told us that there's going to be 50. So there's a lot of games that we still don't know about that are going to be available on launch that I'm sure, because of the high barrier to entry, like we discussed on a previous episode, they're going to be quality titles.
I wonder how many of those 50 we already know.
Well, you can make a guess.
We'll probably get with our predictions, but you know, how many of those 50 we already know.
But this is the thing, like Zim, for your audio listeners, is showing us a blue and red pen and giving us a beat, so hinting at Beat Saber coming to the Quest. But I have to say, having seen how hard these guys have been working this week on the PC update, I really don't know if this game is going to be ready for launch. Like, if I was Oculus, of course, I'd be pushing this hard, but I really hope so, but I don't know.
Nah, it was done last year. That's where I think.
So hard in the last week because they've been working on the Quest the entire time.
I hope you're right, Rowdy. I really.
I'm totally with Rowdy on this.
Mike, it's a decoy. Okay.
No. It gets me distressed. That's all.
What I constantly hear is not only Beat Saber. I constantly hear Gorn, Orbis VR. I hear Rec Room. I hear Onward. I hear VR Chat. I hear Pavlov. Like all those, you know, classic VR titles. Everyone wants them. But you know, that's the thing I'm wondering. How powerful is the Quest really? And that's what we got to figure out when they announce those games.
The amount of
then
kids.
You kind of know.
Yeah, well, you're talking about the power, but I mean, like power to some extent, even with consoles, like the console lands, and then over time, developers get better and better at pushing more out of the console. The same thing's gonna happen with the Quest. The real thing that I'm worried about, well, I'm gonna keep my eyes glued to YouTube now, is how many videos are we gonna have of, you know, somebody playing with the Quest and someone getting whapped in the face or whatever, because that's going to happen. I'm convinced that's going to happen, just like it did back with the Wii days. And I think we're going to have less monitors smashed and more other random objects around the house, kind of akin to when Gorn first
Or
landed.
people doing dangerous stuff outside.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
I'm a little
recording
nervous.
it, of
That's why I
course.
mentioned the train tracks thing, because I'm a little
I
bit
have heard
nervous.
so many people say, if I get the quest, I'm going outside on this big field I have in
Yep.
front of my place, I'm gonna play there. Well, I'm not supporting that, but people are gonna try it, and they're gonna do some weird stuff.
I wonder if tracking will actually work in that environment, because it actually, the tracking system is, and again, are the sensors on the exterior to the headset okay in direct sunlight, or does that totally overblow the sensor, and so it gives
we know
it
what
no
happens
data?
when you take a go in direct
Don't even
sunlight.
start
so,
with me, Mike. Don't even start.
So be careful taking your
Yes.
headset outside, I would say. But let's
Technically,
not-
it could be possible, because I did see a video from Upload sometimes where someone had like a backpack PC and a mixed reality headset, and they were just
Yep.
roaming around, and it kind of worked. But then still, it's not really made for that.
So what about other predictions? Do you guys have any predictions what we might learn about the quest maybe next week?
Yeah,
Or do
what
you
the
think it
feckin' hell the two audio jacks on either side of the headset are going to be used peripherals-wise? That's what I've wanting to know since I got my hands on the Quest and was like, hang on a second, this thing has 2 holes.
Good point.
So,
Yeah.
So Oculus said or teased that it was for upcoming audio solution, but we obviously don't know what that is.
Also, what I'm curious of is if you can share footage from your quest and maybe stream it or share it with your friends.
Yeah.
That would be kind of
People in the
nice.
chat are saying what they will do, what ridiculous thing they will do when they are having their first quest. So
Okay.
we have also Weed, who says, I'm going to use my Oculus Quest while driving a car.
oh my god.
Don't do that.
The Mad Hatter says, I'm going to play Subnautica in the swimming pool.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And then you should, like, after that, you should complain at the Oculus support, like, it's not waterproof, and I tried to play Subnautica and it doesn't even work. This sucks. What is this for a product? I hate it. I can't even play Subnautica underwater.
Let's count down to a news story of someone falling off their rooftop balcony while wearing the Quest, starting now.
Oh my
Okay.
god, but seriously, people are gonna do stuff like that. I don't know why, but
Mike has let in.
as long as the marketing of Oculus is solid and people understand what they are buying, we're fine. But some people, they buy these headsets and they have no idea what they are getting, and they just do some stupid shit.
So please, if you're a viewer or a listener of this podcast, be safe in the Quest when you get your hands on
Exactly.
this
We
device.
don't want to lose any viewers on this podcast. so
No.
we-
we need all of you. You're precious to us.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on then. Let's talk about the Rift S, because this has been huge this week. We've got a lot more hype behind Rift S. Road to VR and Upload have both been saying that, they've received emails from developers confirming that the Rift S is a thing and will be announced next week at GDC.
Okay.
So this is kind of interesting. And the thing is, normally I'd kind of be like, yeah, okay, they're talking about it, a bit like the TechCrunch thing, fine.
Yeah,
But
that's
the
best
thing is,
example.
what kind of adds more fuel to this fire is that the stocks of Oculus Rift have pretty much depleted everywhere. So you can't buy one on Amazon right now. You can't buy one on Best Buy, Microsoft, Newegg. They've all sold out everywhere. And the only place you can buy one now is through Oculus directly, and which would totally make sense if you're about to
Okay.
launch a brand new headset.
So before we go deeper down the rabbit hole, deeper down the matrix, so what is the Rift S again? So the Oculus Quest is like a standalone, a mobile headset.
Yes.
The Rift S is a PC headset, like the Oculus Rift. It's like the big brother of the Oculus Rift.
Exactly
Like the
that.
new version of the Oculus Rift in a way.
So yeah, when TechCrunch originally reported on it, they said it wasn't like a Rift 2.0, but more of like just a refresh, a little upgrade.
A revision.
Yeah. So in terms of Rift S, what we know so far and the rumors that we've heard so far is that it will have the inside-out tracking cameras called Oculus Insight from Oculus Quest, so you won't need external sensors for tracking.
Yep.
It will have a resolution increase, so likely to be around 1400 by 1600 pixels per eye, same as Quest and the Vive Pro. Personally, we don't know anything about this, but I just think it's a guess that it'll be the same 110 degrees field of view as Rift that we're currently used to. I don't think it was going to get any bigger. But it's likely that you'll get the Quest touch controllers coming over to Rift S, because obviously you need the inverted tracking ring if you're using inside-out tracking. But one thing I had a dream about this week that I really hope is true, and that is that...
You had a dream?
Oh,
I had a
God.
dream.
You're dreaming VR?
Wait. That's
Mike
the
is
way that we
addicted.
do predictions nowadays.
Yeah.
Mike just goes to sleep and dreams about stuff, and then
Exactly.
it
Mike, do you need help?
comes into my bald head like a vision. I'm like,
That's what
what was it? That guy from X-Men.
Professor
X-Men.
X.
Exactly.
This is
Professor
why
Xavier.
Sorry?
Professor Xavier, that's who I am.
Yeah.
I'm getting visions now.
Well, Mike, I have a tip for you for someone that is also addicted to VR and, you know, has to constantly do stuff with VR. I'm
Go
wearing
outside.
like tinfoil hats nowadays while I'm going to bed.
Okay, good advice. But to tell you what my dream was and my vision is that not only does it have inside-out tracking, but it's also compatible with the sensors. So for people like us that has already had a Rift, you can just upgrade to the Rift S, but still utilize the tracking sensors so you get the best tracking experience. Because of course, with Quest, you know, your tracking, although it's great, don't get me wrong, there are issues when you take the controller out of your vision of those cameras, which are only front-facing, by the way. So that's what my hope is. If they're going to utilize the Oculus Insight, that you also
How?
sensors.
How would
I
that
don't know,
work?
that's to figure out. I'm not-
Yeah, no, but I'm like, so
an
your
idiot that plays VR games. I don't know.
Rift S is connected, is still connected to the PC via normal tether.
Yeah, of course. It'll still be USB 3.0 and HDMI for sure.
I think what Mike says makes sense in a way also because, you know, I think they want everyone who already owns an Oculus Rift wants them
Yes.
to upgrade and
Yes.
don't pay the full price. They want them to at least use something they already had to kind of get them into this new ecosystem.
But
So
wouldn't it go a little bit against their own marketing if they say, yeah, you know, we're using this new technology, but this old technology that we developed so many years ago, that is still better for tracking?
I think if they do it this way, it will appease both the early adopters because it will be easy to use, easy to set up, but also the hardcore like me that wants the very best in terms of tracking solution. I want to hold a controller behind my head and have it still tracked.
I like the point, but again, going back to Arib's departure and those rumors, I don't know that, you know, pleasing the previous owners of equipment is in their mantra this time. The way I've seen Oculus moving in terms of what's in the box is simplify, reduce the number of components, and that's what they're doing with the tracking system coming into this. So I actually think that they're going to scrap the camera. I'll go against you on this one, Mike, and I'll say they're going to go totally against the cameras and with their marketing as well. Like there's no special add-on tracking. As much as I would love that, because I think that's a nice
like
tack
that too.
on. That's a great idea. Fantastic on you for thinking about that, Mike, or dreaming of it. But I do think that for the cleanliness of it and the marketing side, kind of what Rowdy was saying there, I think they just took the axe and dropped it.
I would like to see it though. Let me be clear on that. Yeah, like I do think that would be a very smart thing to do for indeed to get the hardcore, you know, people in there as well. But at the same time, I don't know if they're willing to go that extra mile to please only a small fraction of the people that they're actually interested in. They want to go more mainstream. That's also the reason why.
Well, I mean, Oculus is a very, very large, you know, hardcore base that funded it from the start, and they are very loyal to them as well. So maybe because, you know, everyone who bought a Rift, or at least from the Oculus website, got an account. So it could be that they maybe give a discount to people who already bought a Rift or a Go maybe, and kind of, you know, give them or some free games. There is something they came up with that the early adopter, the people who bought a Rift, because they want people to step away from their Rifts and go to the next one. I don't feel like they want them to stay with their purchase they made maybe a year or 2 years ago. They
but
really
it's so
want them
long, like
to go
I mean,
to the next
warranty-wise and
one.
everything. You really think they're going to discount like a new product?
Well,
I can't
not
imagine
discount,
that.
but like something to kind of please both parties.
So this is my other prediction, right? I think they're going to be so aggressive with the pricing of this headset that I think that the Rift S will be $300.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm with you 100%, Mike. 100%. Because it's just camera technology. Time has moved on. Remember, for the last, like, year and a half, they've been dropping Rift price. For the last, like, I don't know what the last one was. Was it like 8 months ago, 9 months ago? Maybe last summer even? It hasn't shifted, so no doubt they shaved that off on it. I agree with you 100%. $299 for the Rift S dropping. And the other thing I would say is it makes total sense for this to drop now before the Quest launches for the sole reason that you don't want a backlash of people who are confused as to what the Quest actually is. So you drop this 1.5 headset, and it's crystal clear, that's what I need if I'm a PC gamer, and if I want to do mobile gaming, which is a little bit less powered, I've got this. It looks like the perfect, two-flung batting lineup, to be honest, for summer, and I really hope that's what it is.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that's pretty much everything, in terms of our predictions with Rift S.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited about this headset. Obviously, it'll be on the 28th of March. It'll be 3 years since Rift launched, so it's definitely about time we got a new Rift. So.
As Liam said, I think that's the biggest challenge here, that the main consumer base doesn't get confused between a Rift S or the Quest or like any headset, because we have seen the confusion happening all the time, and it's very challenging to do the right marketing. I think it's all about marketing in that sense too.
What do we think then in terms of like specs? Like, what is going to be, the new killer feature for this headset that makes you so excited about this one?
Well, for us, obviously, it's going to be resolution. Because a resolution increase, especially if it matches toe-to-toe with the resolution of the Quest, which is 1440 by 1600, same as Vive Pro, it's a nice jump up. So that'll be the benefit to us. But really, the main selling point of this headset is accessibility for newcomers.
That's what I think more. But is there anything more in terms of like technology? Because me personally, I mean, I've said it multiple times, the bump in resolution for me is not that appealing. It's a nice add-on, but it's not something that I, as a consumer, would be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get this headset now if I already have the Oculus Rift.
Auto IPD adjustment or some kind of facial recognition for profile entry. Those kinds of features, again, may be ready for this launch. But again, balancing back on what Mike was saying about the price point, there's probably not going to be too many bells and whistles in with that package. But I think it's going to be more of a tidy up.
You hit the nail on the head there a little bit, Zim, because there's something I forgot to mention, and that was with the Rift S, it's rumored that it's going to have a single display panel. So with Oculus Rift, it's 2 panels and with a manual IPD adjuster. The rumor is that with Rift S, it will be a single display panel with a software IPD adjuster.
Makes total sense.
So this is why I think it's going to be so cheap, because you have a single display.
What if they, I'm going to throw something else in here. What if they would launch it with a subscription of some Oculus games every month? Some solid ones.
I think we would have heard that by now.
I mean, that would be for consumers interesting. As Rowdy said, I think that resolution stuff like that, consumers don't really even know what that even means. But the free games or experiences, things like that you buy with that, could be kind of appealing to some.
So I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think, we've been waiting for Stormland, Defector, Asgard's Wrath. All we know is that they're coming out in 2019. What if they just say, okay, here's Rift S. Oh, by the way, these 3 big titles are all releasing on the same day as Rift S launches, and now you can experience them in high resolution. I think that's going to be the ultimate selling point.
They could even bundle.
That'd be something that would, because I mean, we've said it before, content is what will drive the hardware forward. And that would make me much more excited about a Rift S than just a bump in resolution.
Yeah.
I already want one.
So let's not dwell on a Rift S too long, because there are other manufacturers out there as well. I want to give them some time. So let's talk about Valve, because we also know that they're going to be hosting a presentation on Thursday the 21st, showing new features and updates to their Steam platform. We obviously know that competition's heating up between them and Epic, so they could be bringing something new to the table. We just don't know. But obviously we do know, that they've been working on Valve Knuckles now for 2 years, and the latest iterations that we've seen of them are looking like final products now for consumers. And then also thanks to our friends over at Cloudhead Games, who post pictures of headsets that are distorted by a crazy emoji. We know that these headsets from Valve are also in the hands of developers as well. So, will this be their moment to make an announcement to say, this is the headset, these are the controllers, these are the new updates to our platform. What do you think of that?
It's so early though. You know, since seeing those
They
photos.
don't have to, basically. They don't compete in any way, I feel like. But I don't know. I don't know. What is like Valve like going back in history? Where is Valve usually like announcing their stuff? Is that GDC? Have they ever announced something at the E3, for example? Or I mean, I'm not that old, so I mean, Valve exists longer than I am, as far as I know. But yeah, where they like usually
I don't know the answer to that question, but I do think we're gonna hear at least. I mean, it's the Gamer Developers Conference, right? So I do think we're gonna get at least some more information on the stuff where Valve is working on.
Yeah.
I do think that.
And I know that a lot of like the guys, that work at Upload, like David, for example, he was posting this week that he obviously knows what he's going to be seeing at the event, and he's super, super, super excited. And he kind of hinted at the fact that it wasn't something that he's previously already posted about or talked about previously. So it gets me hyped that it's either Valve or it's some new Windows MR headset.
And we last week talked about Valve employees that were laid off. Maybe all the games are done. They don't need them anymore. The VR developers are gone now. Choop. Games are going to be released. Okay.
Who knows? Although on a separate note, because we've talked about this many times before on the show about like a Left 4 Dead in VR, we heard this week that Turtle Rock Studios are teaming up with Warner Brothers, and they're going to be bringing Back 4 Blood, which is the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, but it's not going to be a VR title. Although Turtle Rock are making a VR title, which is kind of like Zelda-esque from what Nate Mitchell tweeted about, but I don't want to confuse everyone too much or jump off topic. But
so there's a zombie Zelda game coming out that's not for VR, is what you're saying?
Yeah, basically for those that are hyped about Left 4 Dead, like I am anyway. But
in the chat, by the way, they're saying that Onikaze says that I saw someone on Reddit break down where Valve tends to announce stuff, and they concluded that GDC is their preferred venue.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're interested in seeing what Valve are doing, Thursday is the day to keep hitting F5 on your keyboard, so you can find out.
I can't handle it. I can't handle the hype.
There's more. There's more. You're going to get hyped overloaded in a minute, because we haven't even talked about HTC yet, because they're likely going to be there with the Vive Pro I. They're likely going to be there with the Vive Cosmos. Hopefully we'll learn more about their, what they're going to do with the tetherless mode of this device, because
maybe they're going to announce 3 more headsets.
Please. No, because it's getting confusing. It's confusing even for us, so I can't even imagine what it's like for the average consumer out there. But basically, like, to give you an idea, if you don't know what the Vive Cosmos is, it's a PC-based headset. It's a hybrid headset, which I would call it. It's the first in this category. It connects to PC. It's like the Nintendo Switch. Then you can take it away and power it with a mobile device, such as a tablet or a mobile phone, and have mobile VR on the go. But what we don't know with the Cosmos is like what devices it will be compatible with when it's coming out, and price. As
a caveat, wasn't as well the Cosmos not going to offer the tetherless functionality day one?
We don't know that yet, but we also do know that it's going to be inside-out tracking with the front-facing cameras as well.
Yeah, they've been teasing some, like their product right now is built on not that much information, but that was their plan in the end, to go to CES, show something, and not really say much about it, and then just let people on the internet just make something out of that.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, we mentioned that GDC might be a good place to announce this. Of course, it's a great place because you've got all the developers right there. If you get them hyped about your new hardware, well, they're going to be excited to develop games for your hardware. Makes sense.
This is going to be so amazing. You can feel it. It feels like the calm before the hurricane type of thing, where you can feel this buzz is about to land, and you feel it across the net. You feel it just between us, right? You can feel that tension of like, oh, this excited anticipation. But that news drops, and then we get to hang out and party together. This is going to be amazing,
Yeah, and now you wonder why I dream about VR. It's because it's literally like, it's driving me nuts right now. All these secrets, I need to know everything. So let's move on. There's 2 more big companies, of course, that are going to be at GDC. Next up is going to be Google. And we know that they're going to be doing something big at GDC. Whether it's going to be VR related or not, I'm not quite convinced. But they did show a render of a controller announcing that they're going to be moving into the gaming space. My prediction on that is that it's going to be some sort of cloud-based gaming system, being Google. I don't think it's going to be VR related, but again,
You mean like a Steam Link or something, where you can maybe game in your living room or have this kind of like smart system where you can place
Yeah,
cards on.
so basically all the servers are Google servers. They're running the games, so you don't need the hardware. You just have a tiny box or something you connect to your PC.
And your Google like home thing, maybe like, hey, play this game now, and then you're.
It would work
before
very
you know it,
well.
You're in there.
It would work very well in the US with the packaging, because for the last 10 years they've been rolling Google Fiber like city to city to city. So, and oftentimes with those packages you can get like TV channels or whatever. What if they had a cloud-based gaming streaming solution across fiber, and they're like,
Honestly,
boom, you don't even need the
But I wasn't
games.
really
We just
ready, but
roll it out.
nowadays,
Honestly,
especially
that-
fiber network.
It's possible to do it. Like you can play, on that 50 millisecond lag or whatever you have. It's totally playable.
Although for me, who has like potato internet, it's not going to be very helpful for me. So I'll be happy for you, but I won't be happy for myself. Put it that way. If you announce something like that, Google. So that's Google. But what about Microsoft? Because of course we've been teased about these new Windows MR headsets. They've even confirmed that the reaction of the public and people in general about the Windows mixed reality lineup was pretty stale, because the bar had already been set so high by Oculus and HTC with their headsets. So they sold okay, not particularly great, but I think we're going to see a bit of a change, because everyone's moving to inside-out tracking now. It's kind of going to level the playing field out a little bit, I think, for everyone. So, we've seen this HP Copper headset, which has got a super high resolution, super comfortable headset from what we've heard. And I think they're going to start going toe-to-toe now, and we're going to see a bit of an equilibrium in the playing field between these big players.
I want to see, I'm still waiting on two major players to do anything with VR, and that's Microsoft's gaming division, i.e. Xbox. I want to see them do something. This could be their year. Feck it, Nintendo did it. That again, that was in cardboard. And I want to see Apple. I think next year we'll see Apple finally take the sheet off whatever they've been working on for all these years. And I honestly think it'll just, like a detonation gone off it, I think it'll blow a lot of things out of the water. So this year, I think we can expect to see quite a bit of hardware dropping. So we'll see.
I think for us as content creators, we're going to have a very busy year this year.
I can't now. Like, please.
Pick your
Don't-
platform
So if
and
you need a
run.
holiday, Nathy, go on holiday now before the storm hits.
You know, when I started off, I had one headset. It was like a Rift, and it was called Nathy the Rifter. There was nothing else. Then the Rift DK2 launched, for developers. Like, okay, cool, But then, Rift CV1, Vive, PlayStation VR. I was like, okay, I can handle 3 headsets
Exactly.
fine, that's okay. But then after that, I can't do it anymore. There are like certain headsets where I'm kind of like, they launch, and I do buy them, or I do try to get them, but I just don't, I can't do it anymore. It's like, I can't make all these videos. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then I see these videos of some YouTubers compare Pimax versus Rift versus Odyssey versus Quest or something. I don't know. And I'm like, what the heck is this? I can't do that. I seriously can't do that.
So this is the thing about Nathy. He may look like he's the youngest in the group. He's actually the oldest because he's been involved in VR for how many years now? 4 years?
I think it's 5, yeah. And
5 years.
actually, next month I will be celebrating my 10th anniversary on YouTube. I've
Wow.
been on YouTube for 10 years.
He basically was born. He was in a diaper, fired up a webcam, and then he was on YouTube.
Dude, I found that Virtual Boy, I put it to my face, and I was like, suddenly, like...
There was actually someone in the chat who actually said, I thought Nathy was 50, but just was a bit well kept.
He's like Benjamin Button. He basically
Yeah, I am.
he came
I
out
am.
really old, and now he's just going to get younger and younger. But let us know in the chat about your predictions. We'd love to know as well, so maybe we can read some of those out. But
Yeah.
go ahead, Nathy. What were you going to say?
So, something we can also announce is that we will be going to PAX.
Yes.
We got actually invited by Oculus, so that might add up to this whole conspiracy, I don't know. So we will be, well, sadly Rowdy will not be there. We will be there in, we will bring his hologram with us, and then you can meet him. But yeah, so we will be heading to PAX East. It's in Boston, so if you want to meet us, if you want to hang out, then, we will be there, I think, all days. So that's your opportunity to hang out and, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to be there. It's going to be awesome. You know, like you said, Oculus invited us there, so thank you to Oculus for doing that. We really appreciate it. We're going to be doing an episode of the FReality podcast while we're there again. I think, like we did at OC5. So it will be recorded on the show floor likely, and then uploaded on our usual podcast time. So that's not next week, but the week after that, if you're interested. But yeah, super hyped.
It's funny, guys. Like we
this PAX East or PAX West now?
It's PAX East, I think, in Boston. Yeah.
It's quite funny that we are actually a part of Oculus, their launch plan, and they are not telling us anything of what's going on. So we are there, and then we just gotta, do our thing. That's it. That's it. We don't know anything else. It's so weird. But we just know we're not just getting invited to PAX just for, the heck of it.
No, they've got a plan.
And it has something to do with their announcements.
This one makes it fun, no? That was the same with OC5. Like, you didn't really... I mean, you knew it was going to happen, but you didn't really...
know how. Yeah. So that's the great thing, because, like, whatever gets announced next week by them is likely what we'll get hands-on with at PAX. So, it's going to be a super exciting couple of weeks ahead, I think.
One more thing. I think also that we're going to get to see more of Vader Immortal during GDC.
Oh,
good,
I hope so.
Good
I'm so hyped for that game.
Yeah, and I'm quite excited for that as well. I mean, we're close enough though that won't it just launch? I mean,
and I then also mentioned the forgotten Respawn Entertainment title that no one knows what it is and might come someday.
Apex Legends VR.
Oh God, please no.
I doubt it.
Battle Royale.
Who knows? But yeah, let us know if you've got any predictions in the chat. I'll quickly recap the show times. We've run on a little bit later, but we had so much stuff to talk about, and we all got super hyped, so apologies for that. It's just a reminder, it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. Tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. Also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Anchor. I checked out the iTunes version of the show this week on my travels, and I have to say it's so funny listening to us all back.
You want to say it's great? Like
it is great.
You like your own podcast. That's what
very
you're saying.
biased.
I'm
if
such
I
a
didn't
great
make
host.
it, I would listen to it. Put it that way. So.
Wow. Also, give a thumbs up once again on this video. That would be nice. This live stream video.
Yes.
And Jimmy Cruz asked us if pre-sales are announced, who orders what?
All of it.
For us, I think we'll order both.
Secondary note, what will cause you guys to jump?
Jump?
Like,
what does that mean? Off a bridge or tower?
I think everything will cause me to jump. Like, I'm so freaking excited right now. Like, Rift S, Valve, HTC, Microsoft, they would all make me jump. Super pumped for all of it.
Yeah, see, I'm still...
None of them.
like, yeah. Does any of this get under your skin at all, Rowdy? Like, are you in any part of you human?
No, I'm not.
I think
I'm
in
100% beast, and then 99% beast and 1% sex machine. That's
okay.
right.
Only 1%, eh?
In secret, Rowdy is just playing with his Labo VR headset because that's the most excited he was for an upcoming VR.
Yeah, you guys, like, I'm interested if the technology is new. You know, if it's just a bumper resolution or just an increase of, well, even if it's increase of field of view, I'd be actually kind of amazed. But just a bumper resolution is not enough for me to say, wow. I'm more interested in the stuff like what you said about like the software IPD, how well that will work, how much of an improvement that is. I'm more interested in how they, like, you know, like we were talking a lot about those half dome headsets and you know, those very focal lenses, and that is stuff that I would find much more interesting. Also on a software basis, the stuff that Facebook is doing with the facial software, I think those are things that I think can be used and optimized so much more and have such a much bigger impact compared to like a bumper resolution.
In terms of those little tweak points, like the one thing we didn't mention earlier, and I don't know why it slips my brain because it is honestly the number one thing. Like, forget resolution and all that stuff, forget the technology. The weight and the ergonomics of the headset are really important to me. Like, as a daily driver, I want VR to be more comfortable. I mean, my wife today was like pulling me to the side and be like, if we're gonna do more Vive stuff, like the original Vive is quite a heavy thing. It's like the DK2 in terms of its weight, and if you get the deluxe audio strap, helps a little bit, but it's still a heavy headset. And it's like, if you can Oculus, if you or any of the other headset manufacturers can get 20% of the weight out, that would make me move, even if the rest of the headset was the exact same res and everything else.
That's a very good point. I completely agree with that. I think comfortability is a huge thing, and not only in terms of weight, but also in terms of experience. And I think that Oculus at this point is killing that, and Steam VR is getting a little bit, it's a little bit lagging behind in that point.
I totally agree with comfort. You know, that's why the Rift is still my daily driver. You know, I've got the Pimax here. I've had the Vive Pro. I've had Vive. I had PSVR. Like PSVR is pretty decent as well, to be fair. But the Oculus Rift is still the most comfortable headset in my opinion.
Don't forget the mixed reality headset you had for 2. Was it like the mixed reality headset?
Oh, the Dell one.
Yeah.
Oh god, that was awful.
You almost
Still
forgot
is
about
awful.
that one.
Yeah, like if you're gonna get Windows MR, just get the Odyssey. That's the one you need to get.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
But yeah, any other questions, or should we wrap the show up and say goodbye?
that's about it.
I don't see anything in particular right now.
Okay.
Just
we're
get
good.
ready for like a juicy show next week.
Yes.
Don't miss it.
The storm is coming. We're gonna have a 3-hour show next week, no doubt.
I do see a lot of people announcing that the knuckle controls are going to be there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. Well, have a great week. Stay glued to all the news outlets and all the sort of YouTube videos that no doubt will get made next week with all the juicy information. Wednesday, the 20th is obviously the day, I think, to put in your diary for the embargo, and we'll know more information about it. We'll be back next week with all the juicy details, so stay tuned for then. Until then, have a great week in VR, and bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
See ya.
Bye.